Everybody, and welcome to our we usually call it day early comic preview show, but if it's for Marvel, this is 2 days
That's right.
early. So we got to figure out days early
Yeah.
preview show. I'm Andy,
I'm Matt.
and we're here with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, bringing you some of the most exciting books that are coming out this week. So you know when you go into your store what you're going to be looking for, what to ask the person if you can't find it, and we're gonna tell you some of the major things that happen in it. Like, is there a first appearance? All that kind of fun stuff. But also, we want to leave enough to you so we're not spoiling the book because
Right.
that's no fun.
That's no fun. Nobody wants
We
that.
want you want to have the joy of going into your store, getting the book, and reading it. But we do want to pair people up with the comics we think they'll like. So we'll describe them a little bit, and you'll know, and you'll be better informed going to your store because there's a lot coming out this week. A lot of big books.
Yeah, it's a solid week. Probably the most strong one I think in a while.
Yeah,
Like there's
in a
some good
while,
stuff.
this feels like the start of kind of like the second half of the year
Yeah.
storytelling. So let's get into what we got this week. And Matt, starting off with the one
Yep.
that I assigned to him, but I also read too because I couldn't help myself.
So we're gonna start with Edge of Spider-Verse number 3. And I know what you're thinking. Why are you starting with the number 3 in an anthology series? Because this one features not the first appearance of Spider-Boy, but it does give us the first look at Spider-Boy without his mask, which is a pretty big deal. We also learn things like his last name. So we get a little bit more information about him than we've had before, but there's still a lot of questions out there. So the first story featuring Spider-Boy, written by Dan Slott with art by Humberto Ramos, and then there's the second story featuring Spider Smasher, who is Miles Morales' sister Billy, but she's grown up and she's in Earth 9375. So we get two cool stories here, but the first one, the big one, Spider Boy. Um, like I said, we see him without his mask, and we see that he's really struggling with the fact that people don't remember who he is because, as we saw in the end of the Spider Verse series, he was undone from reality to the point where nobody in the universe remembers him, and we as readers, of course, we don't know him either. But it's cool that we see some of his powers in this too, because as he's trying desperately to find somebody that remembers him, he uses his spider sense kind of proactively as a way to reach out
Mhm.
to try to find somebody. I think they call it like the web of destiny, or not the web of destiny. He calls it something like a psychic strand or something like that, a psychic
It's
thread.
visually very interesting too.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, it's like we see like this gold web kind of reach out while he's trying to find somebody, though. He actually senses danger. Somebody else is in danger, kind of like down the street. It's a girl named Christina, and she is being chased by some of Mr. Negative's goons because she stole a key from Mr. Negative to a safety deposit box that she thinks has a lot of, riches and stuff in it. So Spider Boy goes out to save her until he realizes, wait a minute. Doesn't belong to you though. And she's like, well, no, I stole it. He's like, well, you really need to give it back. But it's just really cool. In Spider Boy and Christina, they kind of form a bond. So it makes me think that when we see Spider Boy again, or if we were to get some kind of miniseries or ongoing,
Yeah.
she would be in it,
Like a supporting
kind of like a
character.
supporting
It does
character.
feel like they're
Yeah.
setting up a his own cast of characters.
Absolutely, yeah. So, and we see him interact with maybe one or two other characters that we already do know. So that gives us a little clue that, oh, he knows this character, but they don't remember him. And how does that all work? So it's just really, really good. It made me kind of feel like, kind of think of, we text back and forth like about the Impulse series from the 90s.
Hmm.
Just like a younger version of a hero, but just a lot of fun and just humor and stuff like that. And then in the second story with Spider Smasher, she is contacted by a new black cat. Now, this is a new black cat in Earth 9375, so it's a different Earth. But a brand new character in the Black Cat moniker telling her that someone is stealing food and medical supplies, and there's a shortage around the city right now. So she actually goes out to try to get those back. Um, she gets her tail kicked basically, and Cardiac, although the cardiac of that earth helps her, sort of helps revive her, and then he helps her go and get all the stuff back. And we see another version of another pretty big villain. I don't want to spoil too much, but we see the Earth 9375 version of some other big villain, and but in a much different appearance than what
Mhm.
we're used to seeing that character from. So just a really solid book. It's really cool to see. I really love the Spider Boy part because I'm just really fascinated to learn more. So we have our A cover here featuring Spider Smasher, but then we have another cover from Ramos featuring Spider Boy in all his jumping glory. This is our Casanova's connecting variant, connecting all the Edge of Spider Verse books there, and then we have our 1 in 25 Yagawa variant featuring Spider Smasher and Miles, and we are selling that one for $20.
Yeah, there's so much about this book that I want to say,
I
that
know.
like I don't want to give it away because I did enjoy going into it not knowing anything
Yeah.
about what he looks like,
Yeah.
or the little takeaways I got was I think he's way younger than
Definitely.
anyone. He I was doing the math at one point. He says like something is a third of his age. I was doing the math. I was like, oh, that means he's very young.
Yeah.
But I feel like that makes it more fun because he enjoys his powers too, which is
Yeah.
is really nice. And just the Ramos art, when I started reading Amazing Spider-Man, was around the Spider Island
Yeah.
story that was Dan Slott and Humberto Ramos. So that's a really like big Spider-Man look to me.
Yeah.
So when I read this, I was like, oh man, I really hope we get this.
Yeah, if you like Spider Boy, or if you're interested in learning about him, then this is definitely the book to get because we, like I said, we get a lot of good information, but we still have some questions.
Yeah, definitely a key book that's going to go down if Spider Boy becomes a big thing. A big key book in like the history of him.
Absolutely.
So next up, I have a very big book as well. This is Ultimate Invasion. So it's been a while since we've seen that Ultimate logo at the top of a book, and you know, it hits me that like there's a lot of people reading comics now that maybe haven't read a lot of the Ultimate stuff, or came along reading after the Ultimate stuff because it was pitched as being kind of it's a new universe and a modernization of the Marvel universe,
hmm
more up to date. But now that updated Ultimate Spider-Man looks like grunge era.
Yeah, right. Well, because
It's
Ultimate Spider-Man was modern for the time, but now it's over 20 years old, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Modern is a very hard thing to
right,
do.
yeah.
So, that universe got destroyed back in Secret Wars. But the things that we did take from that were Miles Morales, which everybody knows now, but he was an Ultimate Universe
Mhm.
character. And we have the Maker, which is this dark version of Reed Richards from the Fantastic Four from the Ultimate Universe. Well, this from all we know that they've been teasing about it is setting up a new Ultimate Universe, which I think is awesome. I think, 20 years later, we can do modern again.
Yeah.
And so, but what is this? So, uh, Reed Richards, or the Maker, he's appeared in a few things over the past few years, popping up in different stuff like Venom and all that, being a villain. But he wants to create a new Ultimate Universe, and but he's been locked up in jail. So this first issue is about how does he get out of that situation. He's a very creepy guy too, and in doing so, uh, he is going to end up stealing tech from basically everyone, going from Wakanda to Krakoa to the Baxter Building, anywhere he can get a little piece of something because he is going to build something. It's not really a spoiler to say he's trying to build something
Sure.
to create a new Ultimate Universe. Now, how's it going to work? We'll have to see. But most of this is the setup. I want to say, like, if you read the solicitations for this, if you have been following this story idea as it's been announced and all that, in general what this first issue is. It's kind of setting all that up. Now, the thing I will say is there's kind of an epilogue. I think that is where that kind of meat of the story is. So the idea is the maker wants to create a ultimate universe, or just a universe, Earth 1610,
That's what
is
it
that?
was, yeah.
Yeah, a new version of that, but he doesn't want there to be any superheroes in it.
Mm.
He kind of wants to be the guy behind everything. How is he going to go about that? This is what you're going to find out in this
Okay.
epilogue that I think was the real kind of punch of this issue. Great setup, great seeing these characters. Uh, the reforming of the Illuminati is really
Yeah.
cool. You can see them all on the cover, but I think it's that after the credit scene, basically, that's setting up what this series is going to be about. So, definitely recommended. And the big thing about this too is I was telling Matt that I feel like I've read a lot of Marvel event books that, they say the thing of like the Marvel universe will never be the same after this. And you read them, and to varying degrees, the Marvel universe maybe changes for one person or
Right.
one character.
And for like a month.
Yeah, maybe they get a new pair of pants,
Right.
and it's like, okay, that's what that event was about. This actually feels like has some gravitas to it,
Something
like
to it.
something will come of this, and I'm very excited to see what it is. Now we don't know even if the same characters are going to exist in this new Ultimate Universe, but we do know that's where we're heading. So this is definitely a big pick for me this week by Jonathan Hickman. The art is by Brian Hitch, and I believe it's like a double-sized issue or at least an issue and a half long. So you get definitely a lot of story in that initial start. Now we've got quite a few variants for this, as you can imagine. Starting off with, and they're all great homages to the Ultimate Universe. So we have our Russell Dodderman variant with the Ultimate version of the X-Men with Marvel Girl and Wolverine. We have our Peach Momoko cover with Ultimate Wasp. I feel like I'm gonna get real tired of saying the word Ultimate and then a
Yeah.
character everyone already knows. We have our John Tyler Christopher negative space variant with Miles. Miles is in this issue and has a pretty interesting offer in this as well. We have our Sarah Pacelli variant, who was your original artist during the first appearance of Miles Morales. So great to see her coming back to do a cover for that. We have our Ron Lim variant. This is an homage to the Ultimates number
I
one,
believe
I
so, yeah.
believe. With that, we have a blank sketch variant. You can draw the Ultimate version
Huh.
of whoever you like.
That's actually what the Ultimate Universe looked like after Secret Wars.
Yeah,
It was just nothing.
it was basically just a
It
void.
was gone.
We also have this. I don't know how well this is going to show up on the screen. We have this Brian Hitch foil variant
That is super cool.
that's really, really nice. I believe it's maybe $2 more. And then we have this 1 in 50 black and white Hitch wraparound variant that we're selling for $40 to our customers. And you can go on our website right now and order any of these.
So I haven't read that yet. I'm interested to see if it, because at the end of Spider-Man 2,
Uh huh.
there was something about the Ultimate. There was something there that made us think maybe the Ultimate Universe was back, but that was like several years ago, and then nothing else. So
There's been a lot of events during that time that could have altered that story.
yeah, so that'll be interesting to learn about. All right, so next up is another big one from DC. This is Wonder Woman number 800. So this is the last issue of this run before we get Night Terror's Wonder Woman in July and August, and then in September we get a new Wonder Woman number one from Tom King and Daniel Sampere. So this one, there's two stories in this one. There's the main story, but then the backup story in this features the first appearance of Wonder Woman's daughter Lizzie, who goes by the name Trinity. And that is done by Tom King, Daniel Sampere on art. So that gives you an idea about what the new series will look like coming in September. The main story is written by Becky Cloonan and Michael W. Conrad. And there's a whole bunch of different artists on this because this is part two. This is continuing from last issue, where after the events of Lazarus Planet, she has gone to this healing island, and she's not in a coma, but she's kind of in a coma-like state. She's asleep, basically. And she's actually navigating through the dreams of other characters, so like Yara Flor, Donna Troy, Cassie Sands, Mark, Bruce, and Clark. And she goes into their dreams, but she sees herself how they see her. Which is kind of, it helps reassure her that she's doing the right thing, that kind of stuff. So that was really interesting to see, and of course each dream she goes into is a different artist, so
Mhm.
you can see how that might go. And then in the backup story, again, the first appearance of her daughter Lizzie. Um, she actually reveals her full name as Elizabeth Marston Prince, which is a very nice homage to William Moulton Marston, who created Wonder Woman,
Mhm.
and his wife Elizabeth.
Oh
So
yeah.
that's really cool where the name comes from. But the story is set kind of in the future because her daughter, as of right now, isn't born yet. But in this backup story, she's full grown. We see John Kent as Superman; he's in it. We see Damian as Batman. So it takes place, when they're all grown up. But they are breaking an oath that they made at some point to. They made an oath to never go into this what they call the Magic Cave of Death, which is just like a fun name that they gave it, but it's actually they say it's the cruelest prison in creation, and they have to complete 3 different tasks to get in. So it's almost kind of like, it made me sort of think about Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, how you
Oh
just had
yeah,
to sort of get through booby traps or something. So it's kind of like that. And so John has to do one, Damien has to do one, and then Lizzie goes to the last one, and she's there to there's somebody there who has some information that she wants. And I don't want to say what she asks them or what she's going after, but it's just really interesting. I don't know who the person is that she's talking to, but they do have a lot of knowledge. And she says that she wants to know something, and I think that is what the new series in September might be about.
yeah,
Is like this person is going to tell her a story, and then the story is actually the series we're going to get. Hopefully we're gonna get some more of her in that series though, because this was really cool. Like she's
yeah,
a great character. She's very fun. She feels very young and not like very young, but she feels very young at heart,
yeah,
like light spirited. She's sort of and it feels there is this good feeling of like family between John and
yeah.
Damien
They
and
feel like
Lizzie. They feel
siblings.
like siblings, yeah, and it's just really well done. So just a really solid book throughout. I love her character design, which we will see in just a second, but just a really interesting book, and I can't. It just made me instantly want that new Tom King series. So there are a bunch of variants on this. So we've got we've got our A cover right there, and then we have our Mike Allred swimsuit variant, which is really cool. We have our this is the one I like. So this is our Daniel Sampere uh, cover with that's Lizzie right there. You see what she looks like. Then we have our Belen Ortega variant. Then we have our Pride variant, featuring a bunch of different Amazons right there. This is our Brian Bolland. That's a very classic feeling Wonder Woman.
Mhm.
We have our Jamal Campbell, our current Superman artist, still working some magic on some other books. This one is
Silkless.
Zilquist. Very mystical. I really like this one. This is a nice foil variant by Sampere. I don't know if you can see that too much, but it's all foiled out. Looks really good and classic. And then we have our 1 in 25 Huang variant, which we're selling for $20. And then we have our 1 in 50 Pet variant, which it's black and white, which we are selling for $80. So yeah, big things happening for Wonder Woman.
Yeah, it was just that short story at the end made me really excited about the new Wonder Woman series to come. It also felt like it had a lot of weight to it and like,
Yes.
oh, this character's gonna be
Yeah, it
something.
was just really cool. Like I really am excited after reading that. I'm really, really excited for that new series.
Now, before we forget, just want to let you know you can head over to infinityflux.net right now, where you can either follow along, you can order any of these books you see, everything you order, you pre-order, you get 10% off of. And yeah, pick any cover, any A cover, anything you want. It's right there, right now on infinityflux.net. So, next up, my next book is Titans #2. So, I overall I love the concept of this book. So, I always love when characters are given the chance to grow up
Mm-hmm.
and Nightwing, I loved when he was Batman because I felt like he really
Yeah,
deserved
it was
that
great. Yeah.
mantle, everything. That is a lot of what this feeling is. So, we had the first issue where the Titans are now taking over the place of the Justice League, who have kind of semi-retired after Dark Crisis. And uh, this is the Titans team when they were younger.
Mm.
They were the teen team. They were the Teen Titans, but now they are stepping into a role that they
They've been training for their
they've
whole
been
lives,
training for, but
essentially.
they're still very they feel the shoes they're stepping
Yes.
into
Oh,
is
yeah.
very is weighing heavy on them. Now, what I love about this begins in the old days when they were the Teen Titans, and you see that they are going after Brother Blood, who is a classic Teen Titans villain. Uh, until they run into the room, and they realize the Justice League has already taken care of everything. And there's a great moment with Wally and Dick as Kid Flash and Robin as they're walking out, and Wally basically says, "Do you ever think we're gonna be like them?" Dick says, "No, I think we're gonna be better."
Mm.
And so that kind of, I feel like just that's what the series is about.
Yeah.
It's the Titans trying to be better than the Justice League. They know they've learned lessons growing up that they need to take on with them. So in this, this picks up right where the other one left off, where Wally West is dead on the floor in Titan's Tower. Now, for Wally West fans, man, you've just been,
Again, come
yeah, you've been
on.
getting hit left and right.
Mhm.
But as always, this is not the full story.
Yep.
So, a someone shows up at the door that is going to change all of this and kind of um, it's going to change how you see a lot of the events going on in this book. Now, some investigation is done on the body where they realize this might be a Wally from the future. And
What?
what is going on with this, and what are some of the DNA tests showing, or the Nightwing puts on his Batman goggles and checks on things,
Nice.
and they kind of figure out at least the situation that he died. So it's a really interesting way of playing with like the forensic side of a time traveler and all of that. But the other big thing that happens is one of their classic villains, Brother Blood, appears on a TV show, and he is going by the new title, what is it, Brother Eternity. He says that he, regrets all of the Church of Blood and all of that, and he is setting up the Church of Eternity, and that he might have started to recruit some people that the Titans are not going to be too happy about. So
Yikes.
you'll have to read it to find out everything. There's a lot of twists and turns to this, but I think the good part of this is the core of these characters stepping up into this role and realizing, yes, they're prepared for it, but that still doesn't mean that they're not going to get hit with their own challenges along the way. So, Titans #2, fantastic issue. Really love this. Love the team behind it. We also have some variants for this one. Let's see. We've got the really nice Jen Bartel
That's
variant
nice.
with Starfire. We have, this is the Clay Man variant.
I love Clayman. He's great.
Really good one. This one is really fun too. This is the Joe Quinones swimsuit variant. It's a little hard to see, but you got them all there hanging out on the beach. I love that one because I feel like that could actually happen in the book. Like
Oh, for
they get
sure.
along that way. Oh, and there is we've got the Flash. This is the Galman variant for the Flashpoint movie. And we have one more. This is the 1 in 25 Doc Shaner variant that we're selling to our customers for $15.
Very cool. So we're gonna continue on with the big, awesome books. Like it was hard to figure out which ones to talk about first because there's a lot of really good stuff in
Yep.
here this week. But so the next one I want to talk about is Avengers #2. Uh, this is really good. Like
Yeah.
I read this and I just really, really loved it. So obviously this is written by Jed McKay with art by Cia Villa, who are just doing a fantastic job so far. So in this one, Kang. So at the very end of the last one, we see Carol. She kind of gets sucked into this portal more or less, and Kang is there, and he's all like hurt from his battle with the group of people that I don't remember, but it's from the Timeless issue
Mm-hmm.
from like at the end of 2022. That Timeless issue, it really informs a lot of what we're going to see in this Avengers movie.
Yeah.
Um, so he offers Carol information on how to save 1,000 lives in 24 hours. And he explains to her that these are lives that, if they're not saved, it's going to basically butterfly effect and cause mass loss of life in some way at some point. But we'll never know because the Avengers actually take that information and they go around saving these people based on what Kang told them. And this issue was very similar to the first one in that it bounces back and forth between Carol talking with Kang, and then you see like Black Panther goes and saves 50 people from being held hostage in this big high rise, or we see Vision and Iron Man saving a plane that's on its way down. The engine blew out. We see Captain America. We see him save one guy from
I
just getting
love
behind the
that
wheel.
that
Yeah,
one moment.
yeah, it was really really great. So, uh, intermixed with all of that, we see Carol. So we're like, because a minute at first I was like, why is Black Panther there? Like why is what drew him to that building to save those hostages? Then it cuts back and it says, here Kang's like, here's 1,000 lives that if you help me, you can have this. Um, he also tells her, of course, he's like, he's severely wounded. He can barely talk. And he starts to tell her, he's like, I need to tell you about the tribulation events, which is we first heard about in that timeless issue. And the first one being the impossible city, but he mentions others like the King of Magic, the Death Moon, the Cannibal Culture, the Endless Night, and others. So I don't know. Like instantly, I'm wondering, like, oh, is each one of those going to be some kind of event, or is each one of those going to be some kind of story arc? Like 6 issue
Yeah.
thing in this series. Like we don't know, but it sounds really cool. We're gonna get our first look at the Impossible City next issue, I believe. But she basically says, "Why should we help you?" And he tells her about that group of people that he fought, and he said they're after the same thing I am. He doesn't mention what it was, but I think it's that in that timeless issue he mentions that he's after like the missing second,
Yeah.
like the missing second of history. But we don't really know what that is. He says, I want to make sure, if I can't get to it, they can't either. And he's trying to tell her more before he just completely collapses. And like he was about to tell her something important. So she's watching over him while the Avengers go and save all these other people. Um, and so still lots of questions. Like I know it sounds confusing and it's supposed to be at this point. It's only the second issue. It's still setting everything up. But it is super interesting. Like I
Yeah.
want to know everything about everything in this. And the art is fantastic. Like the art just makes it 10 times as good as it already is. So, really, really just a great start to a new Avengers book so far. So we have our A cover here by Chris Samney, and then we have our Mark Brooks corner box very, I don't know if that's actually what they call it, but it's done in the style of like it could be corner box art right there.
Mhm.
And then we have our very cool Vision George Perez cover as well coming through a wall there.
Yeah, I also read that issue and it's great. I'm very
It's
excited for this new like you said, I'm very interested to see, are these events going to be like self-contained within Avengers,
yeah,
or if they're that big of a thing, are they going to bring in other books,
yeah,
or I don't know, but it sounds like the magic one. It's like
yeah.
this is going to feed into Doctor Strange a little
Right.
bit.
I mean, because normally, like, if Dan Slott's run a Fantastic Four, he talked about, they mentioned the Reckoning War, but now we're getting like a bunch of different ones. Like, oh my gosh, what are all these?
Yeah.
What is going to happen? So it's really good.
So next up, I've got another big number one this week. I feel like we're talking a lot on these, but I mean some big books
They're
that I feel like
good.
people
Yeah.
really need to know about. So this is Incredible Hulk number one. This is from your new team on here of Philip Kennedy Johnson and Nick Klein. Philip Kennedy Johnson, of course, working on Action Comics still,
Yep.
and Nick Klein coming off of Thor. And this is a really cool issue. So what I always like with Hulk books is the different angles you can take Hulk
Oh yeah.
in. So you had the Al Ewing one that was very weird, kind of exploring the weird kind of gamma side of things. Then you had the Donny Cates one, which was kind of the like, I don't know, how can far can we push Hulk into into space? What does he do there and everything? This one definitely centers on the horror, but not the same horror as the Al Ewing one. I know that one was also a lot of horror, but this feels more of like monster
Yeah, like
horror.
classic, like Universal monster horror
Yeah.
stuff, which is really fun.
So in this, it begins with a group of, I guess, grave robbers going into a pyramid or a temple or a tomb or something. that they think they are going to find all these riches and everything. They're going to get there before the university comes in and does all their stuff. And what do they discover there? Not riches, but weird, like giant mummies and mummified creatures and all this stuff. Well, this definitely leads towards the awakening of something truly horrible. Now, one of the big things I thought was interesting in this is they reference the Green Door a lot, which is a big thing
Oh
during
yeah.
Al Ewing's run about this kind of weird portal thing. I never quite like understood the tangibility of this green door. But it looks like they're going to be explaining that to people who maybe didn't read that run in here. But it has to do with now that this green door has been shut, some things are awakening. And but we do get Bruce Banner, who I feel like every time we meet him in the beginning of a series, he's at a really low
Yeah.
point. He's kind of a drifter in this, going different places, and it seems like his kind of relationship with the Hulk is not going well right now. That they are very much the two split off personality versions. That one's kind of like whispering in his ear or haunting him. And anytime Bruce kind of gets in a situation where he's like, I'm gonna go to this like restaurant and get a sandwich or whatever, he can't trust it because then suddenly the thing starts coming along and everything. So it's a very, very a cool beginning. Oop,
I thought I was about to die.
want to make sure that we don't
Yep.
die. Just like Bruce Banner hopes he does not die in this.
Whoa, that's
a
marketing. We
segue.
planned that.
But no, it's really cool to see this very like the speech bubbles change from being like regular to start turning black, and you can see like the
Oh
Hulk
yeah.
start taking over. Now the other thing in this is we meet a girl who is trying to run away from home from a very abusive situation, and it looks like their stories are going to collide somewhere in the woods as Hulk. Now we do see a transformation of Bruce Banner into Hulk, and it is a very
Body horror, right?
body
Yeah.
horror. What if the Hulk transformed, but not all of his body parts transformed at the same time? So one arm goes big, and then this. Actually, the first thing that changes is his teeth size.
Yeah.
So that is very horrendous. But it looks like they are definitely leaning into monsters in this, and not just Hulk. It seems like I think they refer to the mother of monsters in this, and something about monsters kind of being awakened and also maybe being controlled. We see things like Man Thing in here. We maybe even see a little Ghost Rider in here.
What?
Things that are even kind of remotely monstrous. So if you're looking for a new Hulk book to jump onto, maybe the last one wasn't your speed or whatever. It does feel classic Hulk, but with still its own spin to it. The art is fantastic. The Nick Klein art is very creepy when it's supposed to be creepy. Just really good overall. So very excited for people to read Incredible Hulk #1 in this kind of new era of Hulk. We've got some variants for this one as well. So starting out with, we have the Marquez variant. You can see the face
Oh,
down
yeah.
there in him.
Got a little face on your jacket there.
Yeah. We have our George Perez variant. We have and this shows you a little bit of his transformation. This is the Scotty Young
That is
variant.
fantastic.
We've got our Jim Chung variant. We've got our Gleason variant. I think they're called like the Gamma variants or
Yeah.
something. I think there's going to be more of them. This is the Basil Dua variant for the Stormbreakers. And we have this 1 in 50 Herb Trimp hidden gem variant that we are selling to our customers for $45.
Yeah, of course, Herb Trimp did so much of the classic Silver Age Hulk stories. I mean, he was on it for forever, it seemed like. All right, so the next one is where did I leave off? No, Nightwing #105. Obviously Tom Taylor, Bruno Redondo, your creative team over the last 30 issues or so. What's interesting about this book is the entire thing is done from Nightwing's perspective. Like it's all in first person, right? So you never see his face or his body unless he like sees himself in a mirror or whatever. It's really cool. So in this, Nightwing and Batgirl get word that a train has been hijacked by the duo known as Double Dare. I think they. I haven't read too much of this run yet, but I think they've appeared before. But it turns out that they are being chased by a group of mercenaries that were hired by Shell Pharmaceuticals. Um, Shell Pharmaceuticals created this vaccine for this plague, but is demanding way too much money for it, and this country that needs it can't afford it. So, the Double Dare they steal the vaccine, and then the pharmaceutical company hires mercenaries to go take them down and get it back. So, um, one of the duo was captured, and they're actually chasing Nightwing and Batgirl are chasing the other one. She has to go, so Batgirl has to sort of go undercover. She dresses up as the other villain and goes undercover to rescue the one that was captured. This felt like a slightly larger issue. I'm not sure what the page count was. It felt like it was a little bit longer, but it was really fun. Like it was super well done. You would think like what 20-30 pages and we don't actually see the character, we see everything they see, but it's really well done. There's a whole lot of chases in this.
Mhm.
And there's like swinging past the building, and of course you see Nightwing's reflection in the windows of the building. It was really just super fun. There was a lot of great quips back and forth between Dick and Barbara in this. It was just super fun. This creative team continues to. I love the way they continue to try to do new things, like the
Mhm.
one issue where it was all one continuous thing, and they're just always doing new stuff with this. So this is a really fun story, and everything was resolved by the end. So it's kind of a nice one and done story. Like I said, I haven't read this full run yet, but I was able to read this with no problems whatsoever. So if you want to just read a really fun comic, or if you're interested in getting into Nightwing, this would be a great place to start because it's really fun and innovative. So yeah, there is our A cover right there. We have a whole bunch of cool variants for this one as well. My favorite by my favorite artist in comics right now, Dan Mora. Very nice Dan Mora variant right there. We also have our Jamal Campbell variant, another first person perspective there. We have our variant. This is by Yoshitani. What's really that one's really fun.
It's fun to read, like
Yeah,
the little comments.
yeah. You can see it's Nightwing's Max like, and then we have our 1 to 25 Georgie variant, which we are selling for $20. Another first person. That's a lot of like how you see Nightwing, and this is like in a reflection like that. So
Mhm.
he's looking in a puddle right there. So yeah, this was a really fun issue.
So next up for me is Mandalorian season 2, issue 1. So continuing the way they did the first volume of Mandalorian, this is essentially each issue is an adaptation of one episode of The Mandalorian. This time we're into season 2. This is, I feel like they're a little bit thicker of issues. I believe this is a 6.99 one, and this covers the episode Redemption, which is the first appearance of Cobb Vanth, the marshal of the small town Mos Pelgo, who came across Boba Fett's armor, and so the first time you see him, he's wearing that. So this is Cobb Vanth's first appearance. He's a pretty big character now. Has appeared in quite a few episodes. I'm very excited that he's in this. And yeah, if you enjoyed that episode, it's one of my favorites of season 2. This is
That
a
was great.
really fun one. Fun to relive it. This way you get to see maybe some different angles on shots and stuff. You get to kind of take it all in. Plus, you get Boba Fett appearing at the end in his kind of new look that he has. So, very fun one there. If you know the show, you know what you're getting with this issue. That is our A cover by David Nakayama. We also have this is the Gist variant, which I think is a really cool
That one
one.
is cool, yeah.
We have our Pride variant with Just Lucky, who's actually a character from the Afro book. We have our concept art variant. And we have our, I believe this is the Yagawa variant. Also kind of a first person of petting little Grogu's head.
That's right. Which we all want to experience at some
Yes,
point, right?
and we also do have a 1 in 25 Ken Lashley variant that we're selling for $20, which is really cool. That like fighting pit.
Yeah. Ken Lashley's great.
Yeah.
He always does great covers and interiors. All right, so next up for me is Camp Pickens. This is from Archie Comics, and this is I believe this is a one shot. It's another Archie horror book. Chilling Adventures presents Camp Pickens, and this one is really fun. So it's amazing to me how some of the best horror books that I've read come from Archie, featuring the Archie cast.
Yeah.
Like you would never expect that, but like Afterlife with Archie was fantastic. And this is really fun too. So this is written by Jordan Moore. There's three different stories in this. Jordan Morris, Blake Howard, Tim Seeley are the writers, and then Diana Camaro, Carola Borelli, and Mike Norton are the artists. So sort of the main story in this is a story about Camp Pickens is cursed, and only bug juice, which is literally it's it made me think of like jungle juice when we were kids. But it's actually juice that's made from the liquefied guts of giant bugs. And drinking that is the only way to keep the ghouls and the goblins away. Although the kids don't know they're drinking that, but Jughead knows that that's what it is, and he knows it's liquefied bug guts, but like loaded with sugar, so they can't tell. But he realizes that, oh my gosh, we're almost out of bug juice, and if we don't keep drinking it, the all the horrors of the forest are going to come out and whatever. So he actually takes a group of kids to go kill a bunch of giant bugs to get more bug juice. But then there's a little twist on what happens to that, and everything seems like it might be, like a nice happy ending. But then there's a little something creepy at the end. It's like, oh no, actually, everything's not great. So it's super duper fun, and like I said, real creepy. There's also another story about a camp counselor. Before all the Archie kids became camp counselors of this place, but there's a camp counselor who tries to save someone from drowning in the lake, but she drowns instead. And the way that it explains what it is and the way it shows it is really cool, really creepy. And then there's another story about a slasher who's making his way through the camp, taking out all the camp counselors. And then what happens at the end is super duper creepy as well. Like I don't want to spoil it because when I read it just a little while ago, I was like, oh my gosh, it's actually kind of dark for an Archie comic, but it's just so much fun. So if you like horror, like this would be a great one to come out in October. Like I feel like they should have waited till October. It's really fun. So if you like horror books and you like Archie books, this is really good. So we have our, like I said, we've got our A cover right here, and then we have a really awesome Francavilla variant. Francavilla, who did the Afterlife with Archie, that is just fantastic. So Francavilla and Archie is a win-win combination.
Yeah, and it's nice to see Tim Seeley and Mike Norton get
Yeah.
back together. They worked on the book Revival, which was a horror book from Image years ago. Just have those two team up is really cool. So next up for me, I have Bone Orchard Mythos, Tenement #1. So I'm not sure how the Bone Orchard books work, if they're all in the same universe or not.
They are, I believe.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is by the team who's done all of them, Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino. And in this, it's very, I mean, this is a horror book. It's very ominous as it talks about 7 people who we learn are living in this apartment
Mm.
complex. And what, they don't really have any interaction other than if you live in an apartment complex, sometimes you'd walk by and say hello to someone, or two of them get in arguments about, you're playing your music too loud, something like that. They really don't have any connection, but there seems to be some kind of ominous power that is going to be bringing them together. And they talk about that there's something there that the very like creepy a way of saying like there's something there that people pretty much refuse to see, or it's always behind them. There's this presence or this place that inhabits the same area. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. And it looks like some of these tenants are going to start seeing what that is and who is in that weird void. So very creepy, very aesthetically like unnerving with a lot of the visuals of this apartment complex, and almost feels like one of the things like, is it gonna be real? They're all dead, and this is
Ooh.
some like thing, just because it has that like weight to the look of it and everything. I thought this is really fun. I've liked all of these. I haven't finished all of them because I usually review them for the show and I never get around to
Right.
finishing them. All the ones I've read I really enjoy, and this is another great addition to that one. So this is our A cover here. We have our, I think this is the, yeah, this is the Christian Ward variant. And we have our Simmons variant as well.
Now we just need a crossover where the Archie kids move into that building.
Yeah.
And that would be great. So next is Guardians of the Galaxy #3, just continuing this really fun new run written by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing with art by Kev Walker. So in this one, um, Peter and Drax go on this hunting trip with a bunch of hoity-toity, people from Spartax, which is Peter's dad's planet. They call it the Gilded Hunt, and it's you've seen movies where like people go out and they hunt game out in the wilderness.
Yeah.
That's essentially what this is. The only thing I was confused about, I don't know if they're on Spartax or not. Like I'm a little bit confused by that, but they're on a planet and they're going out in the wilderness of this planet hunting game. And I believe this planet had actually been a victim of the Groot fall, which we've seen these last couple issues. Where this like big monstrous looking Groot like comes and devours planets. But they're a little bit confused because there's still wildlife there, and and Peter's like, well, this is weird because nothing survives a Groot fall, so there's a little bit of a mystery there. But while they're out in the wilderness hunting game, they actually come across a Groot who is huge, like this big giant Groot, and who actually sort of interfaces with Peter, kind of like like all these branches and stuff go up his nose, and they sort of mind meld, I guess. And he tells Peter that if they can bring Rocket, or if they can reunite them with Rocket, then they might all be one happy family again. So
Mhm.
we do know that in the next issue, Rocket comes back, but they say that it's a Rocket like you've never seen before. We talked about that on our FOC show last week. So this is a really just continuing the ending of it was really cool, and we see the return of Peter's like cowboy hat, which I
Oh,
was
nice.
worried that they were I was worried that the sort of the Western aesthetic was only for the first issue, but it looks like it's not. Really cool ending to this issue, but I absolutely won't tell you what it is. But just a really fun. Like I'm just super interested to know where is Groot, what's he been doing. We'll learn that next issue. But more importantly, or I'm sorry, where is Rocket? What's he been doing? We'll learn that next issue. But what's up with Groot? Like, why is he this big monstrous creature now? I guess we're gonna find that out as well. And of course, the Western aesthetic and just everything about it's been really cool. So we have our A cover here by Marco Cicchetto. I love his artwork. And then we have a couple variants here. We've got our Ultimate Last Look variant featuring Ultimate Thanos there. And then we have our Rod Rice variant featuring nice sort of Western themed Guardians.
And next up for me, I've got Superman #5, which is probably one of my favorite books coming out right now.
Great.
Just Joshua Williamson and Jamal Campbell's art is just like, triple A blockbuster
Yeah.
art. It's incredible. So in this issue, we are following up with the big revelation from the end of the last issue that Jimmy Olsen and Silver Banshee
Yeah.
have been in a relationship, and we do get the how did that come about? It's very funny, but when we learn that the new villains, Dr. Farm and Mr. Graft, have been supercharging Superman's enemies uh, to go after him and all that using the kryptonite claw, they do that to Silver Banshee, and so it is up to Superman and Jimmy to stop her. Even though she doesn't want to do the thing she's doing, she now is like way overpowered, and they have to figure out a way to bring her back. Now, this is a super fun issue. There is great stuff between Clark and Lois. There's great stuff. We'll say that there's a double date with Jimmy and Shaban, who's Silver
Silver Banshee,
Banshee,
yeah.
because she's part of a rock band, and Clark and Lois go to one of the concerts at a local place. Really fun, but there's a big thing that happens at the end of this. One that, when you see a thing and you're like, I don't know how they're going to come back from that. One of those happens. And one of Superman's powers is, we'll say, dampened enough that maybe he doesn't know that something horrible is going on. So
Oh,
you have to read to find out, but fantastic issue. Just like if you're not reading Superman, what are you doing? You need to go
yeah.
read Superman. It's one of the best books
It's
coming out right
really,
now.
really great.
It's so much fun. Great relationships. You really feel like Jimmy and Clark are best
Yeah.
friends. The relationship between Clark and Lois feels like a great marriage. That's also like he really needs her because she has such good like deductive skills
Hmm.
that he talks to her to help work through things, and she gives him ideas. It just That's what I love in this, is just everyone's kind of how they interact with everyone else. So that is Superman number 5. And so we are getting Superman annual in August, and then Superman number 6 in September. So we're not going to find out what happens to somebody at the end of this for a couple more months. And that
Yeah.
really bums me out. So we've got some variants for this. So this is the Fornes variant. We have our Bermejo variant.
Very nice.
We have our This is the uh Forbes variant, and we have a 1 in 25 Sherman variant that we're selling for $15.
Yeah, and that's a great point. We talked about it in our show about a week ago, talking about all of the Night Terrors books coming out. So this is what we were saying in that video is books like Superman, like Nightwing, like Cyborg, which we're about to talk about. Those books are after this month, whatever issue comes out this month, they're then going to get paused for the Night Terrors stuff in July and August, and then everything resumes again in September. So yeah, that's going to be a long 2-month wait
Yeah,
to find out what happens in
definitely a
that.
big cliffhanger.
Yeah. So, Cyborg number 2, another Dawn of DC book. These, like I said, these are another one that's going to get paused after this month. But this, at the end of last issue, last issue, Cyborg's father passed away. I believe he had a heart attack. But at the end of last issue, there was this weird robot in Cyborg's house, and he's supposedly had his Cyborg's dad's like consciousness and memories in him. So in this issue, Cyborg tries to find out some more about that. Um, the memories that this robot has, they're kind of corrupted, like data corruption, like scrambled. So he's talking and acting like Cyborg's dad, Silas, but he doesn't know how it all came about, why he's that way, that kind of thing. So Cyborg actually, this was kind of cool. He actually downloads that consciousness out of the robot into himself.
Hmm.
And then so he can run around and his dad is talking to him. And it reminded me of like Firestorm.
Oh
How
yeah.
you have you've got like two people, you've got like the professor talking and like his head's floating in the air, that kind of thing. Kind of reminded me of that a little bit. So this series in this series, we were introduced to a company called Solus, which is this big tech company. What we find out in this that they have security drones, all throughout the city, and they're also data mining all of their customers' information. Because in last issue, it was established that Solus is an app that basically helps everybody make all the best decisions to get their life on the best trajectory from what job should I apply for to what food should I have? Should I get like pizza or Thai food or whatever for dinner? That kind of stuff. So they're data mining all their customers' data, and they have these security drones. One of them helps Cyborg in this fight that he has, and but Cyborg thinks he's doing something really malicious just with all that together, but we don't know yet. At the end of the issue, though, Cyborg gets some help, and the his father's memories, the data gets uncorrupted, and his father pops up on a screen and says, "I remember what happened," and then that's it. So like we don't know yet what happened, and I guess we're gonna have to wait till September to find out. But yeah, what's going on? Why is his memory in this robot? That kind of thing. We'll have to find out. But yeah, really really interesting. Like I want to see where it goes. So we have our A cover right there, and then we have our really very nice Serge Acuna variant as well.
Next up, I've got Scarlet Witch Annual. So the first annual for this new Scarlet Witch series, and this was really good. So it's a little oversized, and it is the start of the new, or it's kind of the prelude to Contest of Chaos, the new story arc that's going to be going over the annuals of a couple of books coming up. So in this, Agatha shows up, the new young sleeker Agatha,
Right.
which is a very funny thing when Wanda meets with her, and she wants to talk about the Darkhold, which Wanda has actually taken inside of her,
Oh.
and with Chthon locked in it as well, and she said it's actually safer inside me than it would be out floating around. But Agatha doesn't think like I don't know if you can handle that. So when Wanda's like, "Nope, I can handle whatever life throws at me," Agatha says, "Okay, we'll see about that," and of course starts a big fight where she's just throwing everything she can at Wanda to see, can I break you, or is it okay that you have the Darkhold inside of you? But Agatha is not a great person. So there may be more to this than what's on the outside. As they're fighting, there may be something else going on that she's trying to sneak in there. But it's really fun. It makes me really interested about the contest of chaos because I'm not
Yeah.
sure the books it's crossing over with how they're gonna work into it. But at least for this Scarlet Witch annual, I thought it was really great. So that is our A cover for that. We also have our Jim Chung variant.
I like that one.
Yeah, that one's really nice. And this is called, I believe this was called the spoiler variant, but it's not really a spoiler. This is the Rod Rice variant, and you can just see the different people who are going to be kind of crossing over in their annuals with Scarlet Witch for Contest of Chaos.
All right, so next for me is Miles Morales Spider-Man number 7. So, whoops, this is the penultimate issue of the Carnage Reigns storyline. That's been, so what is it, 6 of 7? That's been going across Miles' book and Carnage and Red Goblin and a couple of bookend issues. So in this one, Cletus Cassidy, not technically not Carnage, I guess, but Cletus
Mhm.
Cassidy in the extreme build armor is still causing chaos around the city. Uh, he's he's um he's using Tony Stark's technology to basically like take over everybody's mind who looks at an app or something on their phone. He actually sends out a couple of older model Iron Man armors to some people's houses to sort of get henchmen, that kind of thing. So Miles is working with a group of villains called the Cape Killers, which actually kind of feels like Suicide Squad. They're not just doing it themselves; like they're under the guise of, or they're being operated by like a government agency. And but that team consists of Scorpion, Electro, Taskmaster, and then a new villain called Hightail. This isn't her first appearance, but her first appearance was during this story. I just don't remember if it was Red Goblin. It may have been Carnage. I'm not sure, but they're all together fighting him. But they're just not having any luck. But then Tony Stark shows up in a new armor called the Dragon Slayer, and it looks very like medieval,
Hmm.
like medieval armor. And I don't really know where he got it because in his book he's supposed to be broke and like on his last suit of armor. But yeah, he shows up in this all like medieval looking armor. But that was really cool. But in this, and I'll go ahead and show you this variant cover too by Tarn. This is the Tarn Clark connecting variant. That is basically Miles' version of the Iron Spider suit that, Peter had an Iron Spider suit back in the Civil War. And it's I didn't want to talk about it, but it's on the cover. So
Yeah.
that suit of armor or that suit does show up in this issue. So if you're interested in what that looks like, it's really cool. And the armor that Tony Stark wears is cool too. So the Carnage Reigns Omega is the end of all this. So if you've been reading this, you definitely want to get whichever one it is right here and the Omega. But still really really cool. We have another variant here. This is from Sarah Pacelli. This is our ultimate last look variant. We're doing a bunch of ultimate stuff right now. And then we have our 1 in 10 Vincentini design variant. Well, and again, here's that armor. And it looks super duper cool. And we are selling that one for $12. I really like that suit.
Next up, I've got our next issue of World's Finest. This is World's Finest issue 16, another fantastic issue. But not a whole lot to say about it because it is continuing on with that new Mazo storyline. That's kind of the AI war with all the robots, all the AI robots in the DC universe turning on the heroes. And we've got Superman and Batman who are taken prisoner from New Mazo, but of course, Batman is going to figure out a way out of this. Contains a ton of fun wouldn't even say cameos, like characters that come in to help that are just great to see, all very classic feeling. Um, and I'm really excited to see where this story goes and what is it leading to, what's coming next with it, because it's just a blast. So, just another great issue of World's Finest. We've got some variants for this one. We have our Babs Tar swimsuit variant with Bruce and Clark looking like models.
with Bruce's chest hair in the shape of a bat. It's
Very
fantastic.
fun. He does that on purpose.
Yeah.
And we have the Libra Mayo variant as well.
Yeah, anytime there's an issue of World's Finest out, it deserves to be talked about because it's just that good. Now that book, though, I do believe is not one of the ones that will be paused for the Night Terrors event because it takes place kind of in the past.
Yeah.
It's not a current day book, so that one should continue on through July and August. All right, so next is the Vigil #2. Ron V writing this one with art by Lily Kumar Sharma. So this issue focuses mostly on Arclight, who is this guy right here. We didn't see too much of him in the last issue. The last issue was Dodge and Saya, I believe was his name. We saw mostly them last issue. But in last issue, they were tracking down a weapon on a ship, I believe it was. They took the weapon, but they put a tracker on the crate that it was in because they wanted to see where the weapon was supposed to go. So they track the crate down to its destination in this, and they learn about this project where kids were being experimented on to control the weather. And they explained why kids, because they haven't like developed fully emotionally yet or something like
Hmm.
that. So Arclight here helps break one of those kids out, and it's really cool. It was really cool how he did that. And then meanwhile, Dr. Sankaran, who is kind of like the guess you'd say he's like the Professor X of the Vigil. He's like the guy,
Hmm.
the sort of the head of everything, but he's not out in the field, but he's like always back in headquarters running things. Um, he knows more about everything that's going on than he's letting on, and we don't know what yet. And there's something weird that happens with him at the end. And of course, we don't know what it is. But just just the mystery continues with this book. So if you read the first one and liked it, you definitely don't want to miss this. So that's our A cover right there, and then we have our uh, uh, Malavia variant as well, featuring Arclight. And Arclight was really cool. Like I really liked how he was in this issue.
Next up, I've got Star Wars Bounty Hunters issue 35. So this one's really cool. This is like basically a new jumping on point, even though it's the same writer, Ethan Sachs. We've got Lan Medina on art, but it starts kind of a fresh start for a lot of the characters as we have our character Taonga, who has been in this series for a while. She is basically putting together a team of bounty hunters for a mission. You don't know initially what that mission is, but she kind of needs the best of the best type thing. Um, and so it goes about recruiting characters. Kel, who not her first appearance, she's been in a previous thing, but we also have Dirge. Who's coming in here? Deathstick, just some characters that have popped up in various Star Wars series, but it's cool to see them put all together. And they're basically who's decided who's going to be on the team is done by a bar brawl, and whoever's
Oh,
left
nice.
standing is basically going to be on the team.
Sounds as fair as anything else.
But as you can see on the cover, Boba Fett is showing up too, and uh, or is he going to be a friend or foe in this? But the cool thing about this is you actually do see him with his helmet off, which has not been, which seems like such a weird thing. Is like, oh, first appearance of his helmet off, because we've seen him here or there, especially like old Star Wars Infinities comics. There's one where he's helmet off, but modern sense, we don't get that too often, especially in the main run of Star Wars books. And he's younger. It's not like the Book of Boba Fett or Mandalorian. Look, this is him younger between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. So it's very cool to see that kind of humanizes him a little bit more. But I'm very excited for what's coming with this storyline because it feels like a greatest hits of those characters. And not even all the ones that I mentioned are in this. There's even more than that. So great issue of Star Wars Bounty Hunters. Fantastic cover there. We've also got some really good variants. You can tell they knew this was going to be a big one. So we've got this Alex Maleev variant that is beautiful.
That's great.
We've got an Inhyuk Lee cover with Dirge. And we have our Wernick, Lucas Wernick Pride Month variant as well.
All right, so last one for me is whoops, not that one. That's Vigil, not Venom. Why is always over
The other
here?
V word.
The other V, yeah, Venom. This is number 21. Um, he's supposed to be red. It's making it look a little black. But there you go. Yeah, Venom number 21. Al Ewing, Cafu on art with Pere Perez on this. This whole issue is one big fight between Eddie Brock and Bedlam. We know that after we saw last issue that Eddie Brock has been basically given a new lease on life, but now he's going to take on Bedlam. They fight both in the physical world and in Bedlam's mind. So you get some like bar brawl type stuff for a little bit, but then Eddie Brock actually shoots his nerve endings
Ew.
out of his arm into like Bedlam's head, and then it's all like you've seen like in comic books before where like telepaths battle on the mental plane or what on the psychic realm, psychic
Yeah.
plane. So it's kind of like that, and there's all kinds of stuff, all kind of imagery there. But when everything is all said and done, you get this guy. You get Eddie Brock with a new look.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's I wasn't gonna talk about that, because kind of a spoiler until I realized, wait, it's on the A cover. Like I
Yeah.
didn't even realize it until I'd finished reading it. But if you've been keeping up with Venom, if you're enjoying the storyline, definitely want to get this because Eddie Brock has a new look, and yes, that is 4 arms. So I
Interesting.
don't know if he's gonna keep those all the time or what. But yeah, we just for this one we just have our A cover.
Okay, and lastly for me, we have a new Godzilla book. This is Godzilla Here There Be Dragons, #1. So this is by Frank Thierry and Anika Miranda. And in this, it is actually set kind of pirate days with Sir Francis Drake and kind of discovering the new world or, that kind of heading out into unknown waters type thing. Well, this pirate is in jail. He's about to head to the gallows, but he's going to tell the story about out on the high seas when a crew washed up on Monster Island
Mm.
and their encounter with Godzilla. So I wasn't sure if this is a one shot or a miniseries, but this is a miniseries, so there's going to be more of this. I really like Godzilla put in this setting. It
Yeah.
kind of has a very dragon feel, like with the title. But if you're a fan of Godzilla, I think this one is really good. This cover artist, that's Nico Miranda's art, so that's what the interior looks like, just less kind of neon colors. But great art in that, and I love the variants for this. So this is the Ken Lashley variant. It's super cool with the ship on his back. And there is a 1 in 10 Kirkham Virgin variant that we're selling for $8 to our customers. Now, those were a lot of the big books coming out this week, but not all of them because there is also some more coming out as well that we didn't get a chance to go over. So those would be
Betsy Braddock, Captain Britain #5.
we've got Bloodline Daughter of Blade #5,
Cult of Carnage, Misery #2.
Hallows Eve #4.
I Am Iron Man #4.
We've got New Mutants Lethal Legion #4,
X-Force 41.
Fat Girls #19,
Batman the White Knight presents Generation Joker #2.
Black Adam 12 of 12, final issue
Oh
of
yeah.
Black Adam,
Catwoman #56.
Superboy the Man of Tomorrow #3,
All Eight Eyes #3.
Arcade Kings
Ooh, how's
#2.
it going? Chilling Adventure. Oh wait, that was this one.
Yeah, you did
What
that
was the
one.
second one? Yeah, Disney Villains Scar #3.
We have I Hate Fairyland #6,
King Spawn #23.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers #109,
Saga #65.
Street Fighter 6 #4. It's always want to say like 64,
Yeah.
63. No, Street Fighter 6 #4.
Tales of Suspense #1.
Suspense.
Suspense.
Victory #1.
And then Walking Dead Deluxe #65.
So thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully this was informative and you can go into your store better prepared. Once again, head over to our website, infinityflux.net, where you can order any of these, pre-order the future comics, and get whatever variants you want. Just a good time overall. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next
See
time.
you later.